Hello Keshis, and welcome to Marrakesh. If you like the work I do, please like this video. There's a lot of work to do, so let's get right to it. Place the board and the tower on the table. Sort and mix the scrolls face down by type. Make 3 stacks for each color at the Academy. Flip the top scroll of each stack. Mix the exchange offices face down, pick 3 at random, and reveal the top one. Mix the luxury goods face down and divide them evenly at the 5 souk shops. Reveal the top one of each stack. Sort the river tiles by the year icon separately. Randomly choose 1 tile per year, placing year 1 at the end of the track and the other 2 face up, visible to all players. Put the city gates in the bag and mix. Draw 8 at each workshop. Sort the resources and keshis by type and color. Each player takes 1 player board, 6 pawns, 1 scoring marker, 1 screen, 1 supply board, and 1 audience disc. Place the scoring marker at 10. Place the fisherman at the start of the river track, the imam student at the start of the mosque stairway, and the sultan's courtier at the start of the palace stairway. The remaining pawns are the player's assistants, which go near their boards. Mix all oases tile, and each player draws 6 and places them face down on the designated Sahara spaces. No peeking. Place the supply board above your player board. On the left is a personal supply of resources. On the right is the claimed oasis storage area. Place each keshi, except for yellow, purple, orange, and brown, in the bag for a total of 8. Each player draws 2 and places them in either order in the open spaces showing a keshi on the storage area board. In a 2-player game, each player draws 3. Each player places their audience disc on their player board pink side up in any orientation they wish. Mix the provision tiles and deal each player 3. Each player examines them and chooses 1 to place face up for the first year. Each player takes 1 water, 1 dinar, 1 date, as well as 1 keshi of each of the 12 colors. The keshis are kept hidden behind their screens, and the resources should be visible on the supply board. Choose a start player at random and give that player the year tracker and the round tracker. In Marrakesh, players use their assistants all over the city to increase their influence in various sectors. The rulebook gives them different names. I prefer to think of the game as taking place over 3 years, each with 4 seasons, for a total of 12 rounds. Each round, players select their actions using their keshis. Then, we draft those keshis. Then, we carry out the actions we've selected, and then we do end-of-round maintenance and scoring, 12 times. At the end of every 4 rounds, or year, we score the river and have to provide for our citizens. There are 12 different keshis, each representing something different. Date pickers, scholars, nobles, clerics, entertainers, fish, guards, caravans, water vendors, and 3 types of goods: carpets, lamps, and spices. At the start of every round, players simultaneously and secretly choose 3 of their keshis from behind their screens and puts them in their hands. When all players are ready, they reveal the keshis they've selected and in turn order place the assistants on the matching spaces. Therefore, over the course of the year, each player will do the souk action 3 times and every other action 1 time. The only exception is the red water vendor. When selecting the red water vendor, you can put your assistant on any free sector, thereby doing one of the many actions an additional time that year. Once all players have placed their assistants, 1 player takes all the keshis and tosses them in the tower. Whichever keshis tumble out are sorted by color. In turn order, players draft 1 or 2 keshis of the same color until all keshis are taken. When drafted, the keshis are immediately deployed into their sectors. You can't claim keshis if that sector is full. Each sector has room for 8 keshis of that color and 1 water vendor. The souk can have any number of keshis. If there are 2 or more available keshis of a color, but only 1 free space, you can take 1, but have to leave the others. If the only keshis left are keshis you can't claim, you forfeit the remainder of the phase. You have to take a keshi if you can. Red keshis are water vendors and are placed on the water vendor spaces. Each sector has one, except for the souk. When deploying a keshi, you may get a deployment bonus. If the deployed keshi covers a symbol, you collect the associated bonus immediately. Starting with the first player, and in turn order, each player activates all 3 of their assistants on their turn. Each assistant has 2 options. With each assistant, you can either take a new keshi of that color and deploy it, or perform the action of that sector. When taking a keshi with an assistant, they come from the supply. You may also receive a deployment bonus when placing a keshi in its sector. If the assistant is at the souk, you may take any of the souk keshis, which are yellow, purple, or orange. If the keshi is in a sector with a water carrier, you receive a water no matter which action you choose to do. Instead of getting a keshi from the supply with your assistant, you can use your assistant to activate the sector's action. Each sector is like its own little minigame. Let's get into it. For each fish keshi, the player moves their ship one step on the river track. If you end in the same space as another player's ship, put yours behind theirs. Whenever your ship advances up the river for any reason, you may choose to spend as much water as you like to advance the corresponding number of additional steps. When your ship reaches the final space, you anchor at the highest number and receive that many points. Any additional steps on the river track are each worth 1 point. At the end of the round, each player may choose one rapids bonus that their fisherman has passed. Deploying keshis at the date orchard immediately give the player 1 point. If you're using your assistant in the date orchard for the action, you get 1 date per date picker. With each assistant at the souk, instead of gaining a keshi, you may choose to either use the exchange office once or acquire 1 luxury good. The exchange office allows you to trade exactly 1 keshi for the respective resources. The luxury goods depict a cost at the top of the tile. Return these keshis to receive the rewards at the bottom immediately. Keep purchased goods in front of you. Each assistant can be used to get 1 luxury good or exchange once at the office. New goods are not revealed until the end of the current turn. If a shop is completely emptied, take the largest stack from another shop and put half of it in the empty shop. First, the player rotates the audience disc clockwise 1 section. Then, choose exactly 1 space containing an entertainer keshi and gain the depicted bonus multiplied by the number of spectators there. You also gain that bonus once when you deploy a keshi to each spot. These 2 sectors work in tandem. For each cleric keshi, you move your pawn 1 space up the mosque staircase. The same applies for the noble keshis on the palace staircase. When your pawn crosses into a new segment, you receive both 1 dinar and a connection bonus. For the connection bonus, follow a line connecting the segments that your pawns occupy and select one of these bonuses. If you cross more than 1 threshold, you get a dinar and the appropriate connection bonus for each crossing. Note, not all segments connect back to the starting segment. If there's no connection bonus. If the pawn reaches the final space of either track, further movement is worth 1 point for each step you would advance. The madrasa allows players to acquire scrolls. You can acquire as many scrolls as you can afford. The cost of the scrolls requires you to have a certain number of gray keshis and pay a certain number of dates. Scholars are never spent, but can only be used once per turn. New scrolls aren't revealed until the end of the turn. If a stack empties, take half of the largest stack onto the empty space. At the start of the purchase, the player may spend 1 dinar to exchange the top scrolls of all 3 stacks of 1 color to the bottom of the stack and reveal new tiles. You must acquire one of the new scrolls. Scrolls have instant actions, end of round bonuses, end of year bonuses, and permanent action enhancements. When first acquired, keshis deployed to the Medina hang out in the guard tower. When using an assistant at the Medina, you may buy 1 city gate from the workshop for each keshi in the guard tower. Select 1 city gate from the workshop and pay the price in dinars, and then gain or lose points as shown. Then build the gate onto any unoccupied gate space, deploying the guard from the watchtower to guard that gate permanently. If the gate color matches the sector color, the player immediately receives 2 points. The player gains 1 keshi matching the color of the gate and deploys it onto their board. Purchase all gates, then deploy new keshis. You can buy as many gates as you can afford and have uncommitted guards for. If the game ends, you may deploy city guards from the barracks onto spaces without walls, but that only matters if you have all 8 and a water carrier for the sector bonus. When deploying caravan keshis in the Sahara, you reveal the associated oasis, or gain resources or points, depending on the placement. Each time you deploy a brown keshi, you must place them in the first available spot following any of the paths from your assistant. The assistant's action in the Sahara is claiming the revealed oasis tiles. When you do this action, you can claim as many face-up oasis tiles as you can afford, one after the other. Their cost is depicted in the middle of the two tiles, getting more expensive the further you travel up. Place the oasis tiles that you've claimed onto the storage area from left to right. If a keshi is there, you may deploy them. When covering the exchange icon, you can return any one deployed keshi and take any other keshi and deploy them. You cannot return caravan keshis, nor can you return guard keshis deployed to walls, nor can you return goods keshis. But you can take any of these keshis in the exchange action. When covering this icon, you may take one associated scroll from the display, ignoring its cost. You are not allowed to cycle them with a dinar in this instance. Up to 3 claimed oasis tiles will be worth points at the end of the game. After all players have used their assistance, the round ends. Each player that has advanced their ship past at least 1 rapids may choose 1 reward to claim. They may claim any 1 rapids reward they have passed. After choosing rewards, the ships stay where they are. Before the next round, pass the round marker to the next player. That player will start the next round. Do not pass the year marker. Play another round. After 4 rounds, the players have no more keshis behind their screens. The player whose fisherman is furthest down the river track wins the river evaluation, gaining the bonus shown on the tile. In the 3rd year, the winner chooses between 2 bonuses, and the 2nd place player gets the other bonus. In a 2-player game, there is no 2nd place. Discard the year's river bonus and return all players' boats to the starting space of the river track. Next, the players must provide for their citizens. Players must pay all the resources shown on their revealed provision tiles. If they cannot, they lose all their dinar, water, and dates, and they lose all the points shown. If they pay all the provisions, they lose no points. Then, all players pick from their remaining provision tiles and flip one of them face up to show the resources they need to pay at the end of next year. Provision tiles accumulate. In year 2, you need to provide for 2 provision tiles, and in year 3, you need to provide for all of them. Discard the exchange office and reveal the next one. Place the river tile for the next year on the river track. Each player takes 1 of each keshi behind their screen. Pass the year tracker to the next player clockwise. That player also receives the round tracker, no matter who had it before. Time for the next year. After 12 rounds and the final year scoring, the game ends and final scoring takes place. Each completely filled sector is worth 10 points. That means there's 8 keshis and 1 water keshi in the sector. Your best 3 claimed oasis tiles score their respective points. Remaining resources and goods keshis are added up and divided by 2, rounding down for 1 point each. The player with the most points is the winner. The palace staircase is the first tiebreaker, followed by the mosque staircase. If still tied, you share the victory. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. Happy gaming. Have fun.